now that we're back for part two, international law, human rights law. It seems like that's the kind of law that you like and you're going for. We kind of touched on this, but like, just maybe explain what is international law and kind of how you like found this deep interest.
I think I've just been following like what's interesting to me, and I know this word passion maybe is cliche, but I'm cliche all the way. So I think I've been following what I'm passionate about. And so back to this idea of the Armenian Genocide. If people don't know what that is, which is understandable because in a lot of school curriculums they don't teach it. Basically, in 1915, the Ottoman Empire carried out a systematic, planned attack, planned genocide on the Armenian people, and 1.5 million Armenians were killed. Many others, left and fled and survived and fled Eastern Turkey. The fact that the Armenian Genocide isn't taught in at least my school curriculum and in many school curriculums in the U.S. Made me want to teach my peers about it, because we learned a lot in Sunday school that the Armenian Genocide, we learned a lot about it, about what it was. Being Armenian, I went to an Armenian Sunday school, of course we're going to learn about it. So I grew up in a very Jewish neighborhood in the suburbs of Manhattan, and everybody here, of course, knows about the Holocaust. Everybody in the world knows about the Holocaust. And I was really struck when I learned this quote that Hitler said when he was, speaking to some of his men. He said he was justifying his actions, saying, "Who, after all, today remembers the annihilation of the Armenians?" So he was essentially confirming for us this cliche quote that we had on the posters of our social studies classrooms, saying, "History repeats itself." And that was the perfect quote for me to show that because we didn't condemn the Armenian Genocide, because there was no, let's say, institution in place I'll explain this when I get to international law, but the word genocide didn't even exist yet. There were no tribunals, international tribunals like we have now. And there weren't very many mechanisms for accountability. So for all those reasons and more, Armenian genocide went unpunished. The government had impunity, and Hitler thought, the Turks, the Ottomans got away with it. We can too. I'm sure, of course, there was much more to his planning and plotting, but that was an element of it. So I spoke to my social studies teachers starting in 6th grade, and I asked them if I could give a presentation about the Armenian Genocide to the class. And I was very, very lucky that all my teachers said yes. And so from 6th grade up until 11th grade, I gave presentations about the genocide to my classroom. And then in 12th grade, I wrote this play. And I thought, because I had been very involved in theater by that point. I had gone to different acting conservatories in Manhattan over the summers. And I had thought that theater was a really powerful way to get people to empathize and to understand somebody else's plight through seeing it and living it with them in the theater world. So anyway, I wrote the play, and then when I got to college, I wanted to put the play on in my town, in my suburban town. Then when I got to college, I wanted to put the play on again. And so I went to the Human Rights Center in college, and I asked them, I hadn't been very involved in human rights in general, really just it was recognition for this genocide. And by this point, all my friends who I'd given presentations to since 6th grade, every time somebody learned about the Armenian Genocide outside of that presentation, they would all text me and say, "I'm learning about the Armenians, I'm learning about the Armenian Genocide." So it was nice to see that I had made some type of impact on them, that they had heard about it before at least once. So, sorry, I'm rambling for too long, but basically in college, I went to the Human Rights Center, and I said, genocide fits into human rights. Can I work with you to put this play on maybe in my senior year? And they said, "Your senior year? No, you'll do it this year." And I was like, no, I'm a freshman. I don't know how to do that. I don't know anything about the school. And they said, "No, we'll help you." And so they helped me put it on in April of that year. It was fantastic. I had a cast from all, I had a very, very great cast. But the point is just that it doesn't have to do with me putting on the play. The point has to do with once I went to the Human Rights Center, then in October of that year, they came to me and they said, "Hey, we know that you wrote a play. We know that you work with this area of historical fiction theater. Would you like to help us work with the Coalition Against Slavery and Trafficking, CAST LA, and help put on a play that trafficking survivors have written about their experience being trafficked, and they will be the ones acting in it." And I said, oh my gosh, I'm a freshman in college. I don't know how to work with real survivors of something traumatic. And I don't know how to direct people. I've only done it once for my vision. But they said, no, we trust you, and we'll also send you with another student who worked with them, interned with them over the summer, and you can do this. And so I'm indebted to the McGrublian Center for Human Rights. It's the Human Rights Center at my college, at Claremont McKenna College in California, that constantly, those are just two examples, but throughout my 4 years there, they constantly gave me new opportunities to engage in different ways in the sphere of human rights. And so by the end of graduation, I had worked with asylum seekers and trafficking victims and genocide survivors and Holocaust survivors and so many different facets of human rights, that it really confirmed for me that this is the sphere I want to go into. It's the sphere I'm passionate about. And I want to go into human rights law because I saw firsthand my whole life how important justice is to a community that feels that they haven't had justice. So the Armenians, for example, we're living 100 years in the past when we every April 24th is the Genocide Commemoration Day. So every April 24th, Armenians around the world go out and have a march for recognition. They have I don't want to say parades, but it's either a march from one point to another point, or it's I don't know the word in English, but I'm thinking in Spanish, like manifestaciones, like I guess maybe protest is the right word, demanding justice and recognition of the Armenian genocide. And can you imagine what that's like, that you have waited so long for justice, over 105 years, that the very minimal thing that you want is just recognition. You just want somebody to say, yes, okay, we did that. Yes, you are right. Yes, we hurt you. Yes, we harmed your community. Like, yes, there are many other demands for justice too that Armenians have put forward over the years, but at the very minimum, it's just somebody recognizing what they did to international human rights. So that idea of getting justice, maybe I will keep, of course, pushing for justice for Armenians, the Armenian genocide, but I really wanted to become an international human rights lawyer to help other communities who have gone through atrocities like genocide, war crimes, crimes against humanity, these atrocity crimes, to help them have the justice that every victim community deserves after something so horrible happening to their community. So I don't know if I explained what international human rights law is, but I can if you want me to in the next question. Sorry.
That's a Google question. I think it's more interesting to learn kind of your path. But it seems like you've had a lot of mentorship in college and everything. And have you had the same experiences at HLS? Like, have the faculty and staff been as supportive or been open to your ideas for things?
I do think they have been. I think that 1L year, it's definitely hard to find those mentors because you're so consumed in the classes that the curriculum gives you, the basic 1L classes that everyone has to take. It's an extra effort on your part to go out of the way to find those mentors. But nevertheless, I think that it's a worthwhile effort, and whether people do it their 1L year or 2L year or 3L year, it's all the same. Those people are there, and when you feel ready to, or whoever's watching, when you feel ready to seek those people out, they're there waiting for you. And I've had a tremendous experience reaching out to the staff of the International Human Rights Law Clinic at Harvard. And so my first year, my 1L year, I reached out to all of them, and I said, I have a master's in human rights, and I'm really passionate about this, and this is why I came to law school. Can I meet with you? And just, I want to talk to you about how I can make sure I make the most of my time here at HLS to pursue this path. And everybody was so open to meeting with me. I met with 4 or 5 of them, of the clinicians in their offices, 1L fall. And it was great to know that community exists. And now I'm in the Human Rights Clinic, and a number of them I've done research I've been a research assistant for 2 clinicians already, and I have a writing project coming up with a 3rd clinician in January, and another clinician, has been tremendous with this war in Armenia. You know, I've just 2 of the clinicians actually 4 of them I've been talking to about different avenues on what can we do, what can we do as students to help Armenia, what can I be doing? I have this idea and this idea and this idea from things that I've studied, but are those realistic? Can I actually do them? Do you have any ideas? And then it's just been phenomenal to have that support network and to have that kind of encouragement and mentorship. Just like you said, it is mentorship. And I think the biggest barrier to having that is yourself, asking and having the courage or the desire to take that first step and write that first cold email. And so I'm a huge fan of cold emails. I really love cold emails. My friends in college would make fun of me that like I'd be staying up all night to do homework because I'm a huge procrastinator. And sometimes my procrastination was not productive, but I was writing cold emails. So at least it was like a productive form of procrastination, but I'm a huge fan of that. So definitely, if you haven't done that already, and if you want to connect with professors, I found that they're more than willing to speak and meet with you. So definitely do that.
Yeah, I don't know. I have the same experience. I'm always like nervous, like waiting to press send, but it definitely, you never know what kind of opportunities like one email can get, or like just connections. Oh no, it says internet is unstable. What did you do for your 1L summer? Um, and was the same plan as the original plan? Did the things get switched up because of COVID or anything like that?
Yeah, they did get switched up. So for years, I have been waiting to be in law school to work or intern at the International Criminal Court, because you have to have some type of law degree, at least for the work that I would have wanted to do, or some type of legal education at least. And so I was really, really excited that I got that internship for last summer. And unfortunately, because of COVID, that was postponed. But I'm really grateful that it hasn't been canceled. So hopefully I will be coming to The Hague at some point. But I really am really grateful for the OPIA, the Office of Public Interest Affairs, Office of
Yeah. Yeah.
Office of Public Interest Advising at the law school, because they helped me. They helped a lot of people who had their plans changed find new internships. So I'm so grateful, because I ended up doing 2 different internships over the summer. One of them was with an organization called the Century in DC, and another was with an organization called the Iran Human Rights Documentation Center, in conjunction with a think tank called the Atlantic Council. And I had a fantastic time there. In both of those internships, virtual internships, I made really great mentors, and I was exposed to a new kind of work that I hadn't done before, which is what I wanted. I wanted to make sure out of my 1L internship that I got legal experience, because I had worked at NGOs in the past, but now that I have some law education, I wanted to make sure I got legal experience, and I wanted to make sure I got practice doing something I hadn't done before. So anyway, I won't go into more depth, but both of those internships were really great, and I made some fantastic mentors that I still am in touch with today. And I think that's something that people should look for in their internships. Yes, the work should be interesting. It should be something that teaches you that you haven't done before. But one of my mentors at the Human Rights Clinic, when I was trying to find a new job, he said to me, if you found a mentor already, because I had an interview with the mentor of the Iran Human Rights Documentation Center internship, and we spoke for 2 hours in the interview, and it was, she was teaching me so much, and we were really geeking out about these international human rights law topics, and I thought it would be fantastic to learn from her and to continue to work from her. And the clinician at the Harvard International Human Rights Law Clinic told me, that's the most important. If you found a mentor who you think is going to teach you and guide you and be a long-term mentor, you should prioritize that over other things. And I'm glad that I listened to him, because I still contact her today for things.
That's great to hear. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. That was a lot of information that I think will be very helpful for students looking to get into international law. And stay tuned for part 3 of this interview.